Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to do a quick little natal chart reading this morning on Albert Einstein. So we all know who Albert Einstein is, right? Very famous scientist, came up with the general theory of relativity, the special theory of relativity. Um, did a lot of work in physics. He worked as a patent clerk at one point in time, and he was a professor at a university. He was born in Ulm, Germany, so we actually have a very precise time for Albert Einstein. It was on his birth certificate, so he's born March 14th, 1879, 11:30 a.m. in Ulm, Germany. So this is really nice that we have that. And I have a particular affinity for Einstein myself, as I was an undergraduate. I got my degree in physics, so I got a bachelor's in physics, and I always loved studying Einstein and learning about him and what he did. And I think that astrophysics and astrology go together really well, right? So I think they go together really well, and I like to share a lot of science stuff. So, and I think that is fun to look at both. So let's just go ahead and dive right into Einstein's chart today. So we're going to look at Einstein's birth chart. So the first thing that jumps out at me when I'm looking at this birth chart and sort of like connecting Einstein to what he is, famous for, is he has this Uranus and Virgo in the third house, and this is in opposition to his Jupiter in the ninth. Okay, and then his Jupiter in the ninth is also making a quintile, as you can see, to his Neptune. And a quintile typically indicates some kind of talent, right? So when you have this quintile, it's a talent. And he also had moon quintile Jupiter. So he's got these two quintiles from these very intuitive planets, from this moon in Sagittarius in the sixth house and this Neptune in Taurus in the 11th, making a kind of like almost an arrow shape, right? You can almost even see this arrow shape pointing towards that Jupiter. And then his Jupiter is also squaring his Pluto. Um, and that's important as well too. And then he also has this Sun in Pisces making a sextile to his Pluto. So let's just break all these down. So Uranus and Virgo, right? This is a very detail-oriented scientist, right? It's very structured. It's very able to put things into very specific detail-oriented containers and communicate it clearly with this third house, right? And then in Jupiter, right, you got this ability to teach and to expand, right? He was a professor, right? And it's in Aquarius, so it's really a lot about science and progress and technology and humanity, right? And so then making this quintile to Neptune, Einstein was very famous for being extremely imaginative, right? He also has the Sun in Pisces, and his 12th house is actually, or his 10th house is actually at 12 degrees. Pisces is his midheaven, and so he was very capable of imagining, right? And he used his imagination, right, very well, um, and he tied that together, right? He tied together his imagination and then his ability to sort of make a concrete structure with this Uranus here, and then also Aquarius, right? So he built these sort of concrete theories, right? This Jupiter in Aquarius is somebody who has a lot of theories about things. I also have Jupiter in Aquarius, so I know, right? It's a very theory-oriented um, belief system, right? Jupiter represents our beliefs and our higher wisdom. And then he also had this moon making a quintile to his Jupiter, right? He was a very optimistic person and very in touch, right? You could say that in some ways he was kind of like tuned into the universe, right? He was able to be very receptive, and that moon is a very receptive point in his chart. And so he very much believed in the power of imagination. And at the same time that he believed in that power of imagination, right, with that, sun right there in Pisces. And that sun in Pisces, if you look at it, is sextiling Pluto and sextiling Mars. And then he has this Mars trine Pluto. That's like a really powerful combination, right? That's a very powerful combination right there. Because that Mars gives a lot of drive and ambition and passion and brings a lot of energy, right? And then Pluto, right, is in Taurus and it's in the 11th house. Pluto is transformation and revolution. And he really transformed everything that, came before him, right? His models were completely different, and so this is a very transformative person. And then he was very famous too, right? And this sun in the 12th house, or in the 10th house, I'm sorry, and then Mercury and Saturn and Venus. So we had lots of things in this 10th house of what is he known for, and so he becomes this sort of leader, right? In thought and at the time, right? And he became famous. And this Mars, Pluto, and Sun, right? This sextile with this trine, really brings him a lot of power, right? He was a powerful individual, a powerful person. He changed the world, um, and brought him into the spotlight, right? He was a star. He was really, truly a star. Um, Yeah, and that's kind of amazing. And then if you look at his Mercury and Saturn, right? He has Mercury conjunct Saturn, which is somebody who can think very deeply, right? There might be constriction in thought, and if you know anything about Einstein, you'll know that he didn't talk until he was 3 years old, right? Everyone is very concerned about talking. Well, Einstein did not talk until he was three, and this is that Mercury conjunct Saturn, and to some degree also this Uranus in opposition to Jupiter in the ninth, right? That opposition there to some degree is an indication of not talking, right? Or communicating at a later age, right? But then this Saturn really allowed his thoughts to become concrete, right? And they're in Aries, so he was a very independent thinker, and Aries is very much a pioneer. And Einstein was very, very much that. He was very much a pioneer of thought, uh, and very much a pioneer in the field of physics. And so his chart kind of has some of that pioneering quality. Now he also has this Venus here uh, in Aries too, and that in a lot of ways made him a very likable person, right? And he's also this Cancer rising, and then the ruler of his ascendant, the moon, is trine his Venus, and so he has a lot of likability as well, and so that um, really helped popularize him in a way, right? Like not only did he come up with really amazing theories, but he became very popular, right? A lot of important scientists and theorists who have changed the world aren't really as well known as Einstein, but he was so very well known. And that is partly due to his likability and partly due to this like Pluto Mars Sun placement that he has going on. So, and he also has Saturn in the 10th. So he just really had kind of the perfect chart and so much going for him. And this Sun in Pisces, and then also this Neptune quintiling Jupiter. Like, again, I can't stress imagination enough for this guy. He was such an imaginative person. But then he was able to ground it all with his like Virgo and this Mercury, Saturn, and then with that Aquarius to create concrete forms, right? Concrete theories, and they're not just this formless Pisces. Now we also had this North Node here in Aquarius as well, and so he really moved towards, and it's in the eighth house, right? So Aquarius eighth house stuff is really understanding things on a deep level, right? You could even say like a deep scientific understanding or a deep conceptual understanding, right? Because Aquarius is very much about concepts, and so he really had a deep conceptual understanding of the universe in a lot of ways, right? Um, and of course, he didn't love Niels Bohr so much and said, things like, I don't think God plays dice with the universe. And Niels Bohr said, don't tell God what to do. And that's pretty funny. So, he never finished his unified theory. Um, Einstein was working towards like a grand unified theory and he never finished it. And I kind of think that this like Uranus opposite Jupiter is sort of like an indication with that, right? Like he has some with this Neptune here, making this quintile Jupiter and this moon quintile Jupiter, uh, and then Pluto square Jupiter. He kind of almost has some beliefs about the universe that I think ended up actually not necessarily being totally true. And we don't, it's yet to, well, we've really yet to see because we're still learning a lot about the universe. But I think some of his stuff ended up not being completely the truth, and that's okay, right? Like that's how science works. Um, we build on the giants before us. So standing on the shoulders of giants, as they say. So, but I think that you can kind of see that in his chart a little bit because his Jupiter, he had this strong optimism and these strong beliefs that were really supported by like intuition and emotion and receptivity. But then there's sort of this what he believes, right? And the ninth house is also that sort of house of belief, and it's in opposition to Uranus, and Uranus is sort of more quantum in nature sometimes, right? It sort of tends to be erratic and unpredictable, and so sometimes scientists don't love that so much. Certain ones, anyways, don't love that chaos element, right? Uranus can sometimes be very chaotic, and so it's like um, he spent a lot of time almost fighting against that chaos, right? That quote, I don't think God plays dice with the universe. His Jupiter, that's so well supported by a lot of other parts of his chart, um, is really opposing that chaos. So, and then that Jupiter in the ninth, also professor. Also, he moved abroad and lived abroad. He was born in Germany, but then he uh, settled in the United States, so that's sort of an indication of that there. He also has that moon in Sagittarius, so that's another indication um, that his home would be someplace foreign, someplace he wasn't born, and then it's in his sixth house, so a lot of his work, took place in countries that he was not born in. So, and then in the ninth house is also publishing, and he published a lot. And then he also, patents. He was a Swiss patent clerk, and so, that's ninth house stuff right there. So that's the quick little spiel I wanted to do about Einstein. I didn't really want to talk too much about his personal life or relationships or anything like that. I just wanted to um, go over his chart and how he became famous and known for what he is known for. So I hope you all enjoyed that short little recording on Einstein. And this is just my shout out to physics. And one of these days I'll do a discussion on astrology and physics and some of the connections there. There's a great book by, I believe it's Percy Seymour or Seymour Percy. He was an astrophysicist on possible mechanisms of astrology. So maybe one day we'll do a little discussion on that. But that's it for now. So I hope you all have a wonderful day and many blessings to you.